Okay, it looks like Yinka, are we good to go?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
thank you. Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you and welcome, and thank you for joining tonight for this presentation. My name is Mark Maglienti, and I'm an assistant director in the Planning and Program Management Group here at NYMTC. As the Downstate Region's Metropolitan Planning Organization, NYMTC provides a collaborative planning forum to address transportation-related issues and develop regional plans through our members' shared vision for the transportation network that connects New York City, Long Island, and the Lower Hudson Valley. We're holding two public review sessions today to gather input on two very important planning products. First is the draft Moving Forward 2055, our next regional transportation plan to improve access, safety, and efficiency across all modes of surface transportation in the NYMTC planning region. Your input is important as we work to complete this planning effort, which will establish the region's long-term transportation needs and objectives from 2026 through 2055, excuse me. Also available for comment is the draft 2025 Congestion Management Process, or CMP, status report, which forecasts regional traffic congestion and outlines strategies to reduce it, utilizing demand management, system operation, multimodal investments, and more. In addition to this meeting at 7 p.m., we also held another virtual session this afternoon at 3 p.m. These documents were made available to the public on Monday, June 30th, 2025, and we will be accepting comments here today and through the end of the public comment period, which closes at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, July 30th. You'll hear more about each of these draft documents and presentations this evening made by NYMTC staff. I'll be starting off the first presentation, followed by Larissa Morozovskaya, Manager of Regional Planning, and Leslie Forger, Senior Transportation Analyst, and we'll be presenting on the draft Moving Forward 2055. We also have with us staff from Cambridge Systematics who provided consultant support for the plan's development. Following this presentation, we will hear your comments, and more on that in a moment. We'll then hear from John Simpson, Mobility Coordinator at NYMTC, who will present on the draft 2025 Congestion Management Process, or CMP, status report. After John's presentation, we will again be open to receiving your comments. There are a number of ways that you can submit your comments. During this meeting, you can type them into the WebEx chat box or use the raise hand function, and we will call on you and unmute you to hear your comment. Note that we'll be limiting your oral comments to 3 minutes, and NYMTC staff will let you know when you've reached that time limit. You can also submit comments in writing to the email and mailing addresses in the chat. Please note that all your comments on the draft plan and CMP will be documented with responses included in the final documentation. I also ask that you let us know via the chat how you heard about this meeting, because this helps us learn more about our audiences. Thank you again for joining us today, and now I'll get us started with the first presentation. And Yinka, if you could advance the slide, please. Thank you. Great. Okay, so to sort of recap, our main objectives for this review session this evening are to provide some context and background information on Moving Forward 2055 and the Congestion Management Process status report. These planning documents are large, comprehensive, and technical, so it's impossible to cover every section in depth, but we hope that this review session today will provide a meaningful overview and help facilitate your feedback. We would love to hear from you today, but we also remind you that the comment period remains open through July 30th, 2025. You'll see the QR code and link shown on the screen here at certain points throughout the presentation. These links will take you to the plan and CMP webpage, where you can review all documents and submit your comments at any time during the comment period. Next slide. So before we dive into the documents themselves, let's look a bit more at NYMTC and how the planning process takes place. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned earlier, NYMTC is Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, for New York City, Long Island, and the Lower Hudson Valley. In order to receive federal transportation and planning funds, federal regulations require that each urbanized area with a population of 50,000 or greater must have a planning process coordinated by an MPO. In the New York City metropolitan area, implementing this transportation planning process is the responsibility of the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council. Council itself consists of 9 voting and 7 advisory members, which work cooperatively through the planning process that allows federal funds to come into the region. Next slide. This map shows NYMTC's 10-county planning area, which is home to approximately 13.2 million people. This is approximately 65% of New York State's population and 4% of the population of the nation. Our planning area covers approximately 2,440 square miles. As you can also see, the planning area is divided into sub-regional areas. Each sub-area is served by a Transportation Coordinating Committee, or a TCC. Rockland, Putnam, and Westchester counties are served by the Mid-Hudson South TCC. Nassau and Suffolk counties are served by the Nassau-Suffolk TCC. And the Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, Brooklyn, and Queens are served by the New York City TCC. This arrangement allows us to better respond to local need. Next slide. As I said, NYMTC is a regional council comprised of 9 voting and 7 advisory members. The voting members include the county executives of the 5 suburban counties of Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, Nassau, and Suffolk, the commissioner of the New York City Department of Transportation and the director of the New York City Department of City Planning, commissioner of the New York State Department of Transportation, and the chief executive officer of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, or MTA. Advisory members include the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey Transit, the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration, and the United States Environmental Protection Agency. Next slide. This graphic provides an overview of NYMTC's planning process and its key activities and requirements. As an MPO, NYMTC is required to produce 4 planning products: the Regional Transportation Plan, or RTP, which is shown here in gray, which defines long-range needs; the Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP, which is a 1-year statement of work that identifies how the MPO will spend federal dollars on planning activities; a Public Involvement Plan that outlines engagement with the public; and the Transportation Improvement Program, shown in light blue, which defines the schedules and funding for future projects. NYMTC also undertakes 3 planning processes: a Congestion Management Process and a Regional Emissions Analysis for Transportation Conformity, which analyze congestion and air quality impacts of the future transportation system; and Transportation Performance Management, which uses metrics to track our region's progress toward national goals. Today, we're presenting on the RTP, Regional Transportation Plan, and the CMP that you've heard. Next slide, please. So moving forward, 2055 is NYMTC's next Regional Transportation Plan. A Regional Transportation Plan must look at current conditions, needs, and future objectives over a minimum of a 20-year time frame. Moving forward, 2055 looks out almost 30 years. The plan must be updated every 4 years, and as such, it acts as a continually updated blueprint for how the region intends to use federal investments to achieve its goals. It's developed with extensive help and contributions from members, relevant agencies, stakeholders, and the public. Next slide. Moving forward, 2055 covers all modes of surface transportation, including highways, streets, public transportation, bicycle and pedestrian facilities, goods movement, and human services transportation. In addition, it addresses key transportation activities such as operations and maintenance and management of the transportation system, safety and security issues, and it evaluates costs and funding details for this large, complex transportation system. You can explore Moving Forward 2055 by using our interactive plan portal, where you can view chapters, summaries, interactive web maps, and more. And just a reminder that you can access this portal directly using the links that we mentioned earlier and the QR code, or through NYMTC's website at nymtic.org. Next slide. So outreach to the public is a critical piece of the process. It's often done early on in the process of developing the plan. And this plan was no different. The outreach program included a wide variety of tools and techniques to inform and engage as many community members as possible. Primary efforts took place from September 2023 through June 2024 and included interactive websites, videos, social media campaigns, focus groups, and forums to collect feedback, in-person events, survey, and outreach to dozens of community-based organizations that were then used to get the public involved in this process. Next slide. Surveying and receiving feedback is critical to building a successful plan. Our interactive survey and geolocated dashboard help users submit their input on locations and issues that matter to them. We heard from more than 2,800 respondents, identified over 1,300 locations, and cataloged more than 500 comments. This feedback helps NYMTC understand what's important to community members throughout the planning area. Next slide. So now that I've provided some context for where the plan originates from and how we began the work, I'll now pass the presentation on to Larissa Morozovskaya and Leslie Forger to go into more details on the plan's components. Larissa.
Hi, thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. So I provide a little information about the data and substance of the plan document itself. And can we go to the next slide, please, on this? So one of the important basics for the analysis for future growth in the region, what plan is doing, it's a growth in population and employment. For that reason, we are developing socioeconomic demographic forecasts, and we actually obligated to do new set of forecasts for every new long-range plan. So 2055 set of forecasts were adopted last June. We forecast population, employment, labor force, and households, and the data is produced on the 5-year intervals between the base year and the future year of 2055. So this forecast used data inputs to the New York best practices model also, and they provide base for all project level analysis and a common analytical framework for environmental and technical analysis. Next slide, please. On the next slide, you can see the geographical area, 31 county region. We are producing a CD forecast for the 31 counties, 14 counties in New York, 14 in New Jersey, and 3 counties in Connecticut to represent the travel shed, commuter shed for the New York City. Purple is this what NYMTC 10 county planning area is, and 31 county is the forecast is produced for the larger, much larger region. In the next slide, you can see some outputs from the NYBPM, New York Best Practices Model, which is SEDs use one of the inputs to produce how the growth going to be going in the region. And then NYBPM estimates that total daily trips in 10 county planning area will grow by 19% over the 30 years period. Transit trip will grow by almost 30%. We also expect significant growth in the vehicle mile travel in the region. And in the next slide, the table represents the growth in the freight movement in the region of the 30 years horizon period. So we estimate that freight will grow by 46% in the tonnage of the freight, and also a large growth in the value of the freight, 81%. We are a consumer region here, and we anticipate those large growth in the horizon year. Next slide, please. So when we create the plan, we are looking at the moving forward 2055 identifies two types of the transformative changes, trends and disruptions. Trends are predictable patterns in the development of these changes that will likely affect how the transportation system operates into the future. Those trends include technological investment, environmental imperatives, demographic changes, policy changes, and other factors. And on the next slide, you can see the disruptors. Disruptors are sudden changes that impact how the transportation system operates, but their timing and impact can vary. The examples of disruptors are extreme weather event, energy transformation, different changes in the population, cybersecurity. A good example of a disruptor was the COVID-19 event, which happened actually 5 years ago. Next slide, please. So what are we planning to do? Our vision, goals, and objectives for the next plan. In the next slide, you will see guiding principles. Those 9 guiding principles inform our regional transportation planning process. These guiding principles shape how we follow our vision and pursue our goals. And you can see those 9 guiding principles: value the need of all users, use funding transportation efficiently, achieve connected networks, and others, as shown in the chart. Next slide, please. So proposed share vision. NYMTC recognizes that mobility is crucial to the lives of residents and visitors alike, as well as the region's economic vitality. We aspire to ensure that all people, regardless of race, disability status, age, or socioeconomic background, have a right to live, work, and play in communities that are safe, healthy, and free of harmful environmental conditions. Our shared vision is one in which safe, accessible, and efficient mobility for people and goods is made possible by well-maintained and reliable infrastructure. On the next slide, you are going to see that given that vision, we organized our plan around 7 goals. The goals are safety and security, infrastructure, resilience, congestion, land use, fairness and access, and environment. In the chapter 4 of the main document, next slide, please. You will be able to find detailed information on each of those 7 shared goals. You will find the description of vision goal, related objectives, recent trends, current condition, and existing initiatives, recommended strategies and actions, and also performance metrics. For the purpose of today's presentation, we will also only concentrate on the 3 items from this list, but again, all details can be found in the chapter 4 of the plan moving forward 2055. Next slide, please. Vision goal, safety and security. We want to have a transportation system for which safety and security are maximized for people and goods across all users and modes. And safety is defined as freedom from harm resulting from unintentional acts or circumstances. Security is defined as freedom from intentional harm and tampering that affects both motorized and non-motorized travelers and may also include natural disasters. On the next slide, you will see the objectives for the safety and security goal. We have 7 objectives that focus on ways to improve safety by looking at all aspects of the transportation system, including passengers, operators, new technologies, training and education, system infrastructure, and enforcement. Next slide, please. So among the existing initiatives to alleviate the safety and security goal, there are strategic highway safety plan by New York State DOT, Vision Zero Pedestrian Safety Action Plan by New York City DOT, various pedestrian bicycle plans by NASA, Westchester, and others, also the freight safety. Next slide, please. Infrastructure is the next goal. We want to have a transportation system for which infrastructure is maintained and improved in the sustainable manner. And when you go to the next slide, you will be able to see that our planned infrastructure goal contains 7 objectives that focus on ways to maintain and improve infrastructure by looking at all aspects of the transportation system, including environmental and fiscal sustainability, modernization, investments, and new technologies. Next slide, please. For infrastructure, there are several existing initiatives, the projects in the NYMTC, capital plans and programs, various bridge rehabilitation and maintenance program in the different counties, Westchester shown in this list, Bridge New York program. Next slide, please. Next vision goal is resilience. A transportation system for which resiliency is supported through mitigating, adapting to, and responding to chronic and acute stresses and disruptions. And next slide, you can see that Plan Resiliency Goal contains 9 objectives that focus on ways to improve transportation network resiliency by enhanced protection, better investments, improved regional coordination, and promote resiliency strategies. Following slide, you will be able to see the list of the existing initiatives to alleviate this problem. New York State Community Risk Reduction and Resiliency Act, New York City Waterfront Revitalization Program, Adri Build by Design, New York Rising Community Construction, and other initiatives. Next vision goal is congestion. The goal is a transportation system for which congestion is mitigated through investments and technology in support of healthier communities, more seamless travel, improved quality of life, and regional economic competitiveness. To achieve congestion goal, on the following slide, you can see that the plan contains 6 objectives. Next slide, please. And those objectives focus on ways to mitigate congestion by improving management of future demands, supporting mobility and modernization, new technologies, and local coordination. And next slide represents the existing initiatives to alleviate the congestion. Those include improvements to the transit network, design complete streets, coordinated development emphasis area, technological development, transportation system management and operation, congestion management process, and various freight initiatives. Next vision goal is land use. Established and maintained a transportation system for which land use decisions are encouraged in support of strategic transportation enhancement and improving modal choices. Next slide represents the 6 objectives which we have to achieve the land use goal. Those focus on ways to encourage transit-oriented development and strategic distribution of growth in the region, help to create vibrant communities and leverage land use mechanism, and manage transit accessibility. Among the existing initiative on the next slide, you will see different programs in the next slide. Thank you. Around the region, Connect Long Island and Suffolk County, DC Galleria in Westchester County, Nanuet Hamlet Center in Rockland County, Brewster Main Street in Putnam County, City of Yes zoning initiatives in New York City, and also MTA First Mile, Last Mile Toolkit. Thank you. Next share goal is fairness and access. the establishment and maintenance of a transportation system in which fairness in transportation is advanced and access to opportunities is improved for all communities. To achieve fairness and access, a plan contains 5 objectives shown on the next slide. Those objectives focus on ways to improve transit accessibility for users of all abilities, provide more frequent and reliable transit service, enhance mobility, and improve access to economic opportunities for all groups of population in our region. The existing initiatives on the next slide are 511 New York, in New York City, MTS, First Mile, Last Mile Toolkit, advisory working groups and study advisory committees, transit service coordination needs assessment, community planning workshop programs, patterns on mobility and investment assessment. And one more goal for the plan, which is environment. In the next slide, please. Transportation system for which environmental impacts, including harmful air pollutants, are significantly reduced through technology application, increased use of greener travel options, and improved system efficiency. On the next slide, you will be able to see that environmental goal contains 7 objectives that focus on ways to support land use sustainability, promote and improve public and active transportation, promote and support low emission vehicles, and mitigate congestion and vehicle pollutions. Among the existing initiatives on the next slide for the environment, there are Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, Congestion Management Process, Active Transportation and Demand Management Program, TSMOS, Strategic System Enhancements, Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Improvement Program, Context-Sensitive Solutions, Complete Streets Design, Clean Vehicle Programs. So those are 7 goals which we have in details in the plan moving forward 2055. In order to complete the plan, we are required to have a financial plan for the plan, and chapter 5 of the main document contains all information about the financial plan. And I would like to ask Leslie Forger, Senior Transportation Analyst, to introduce you to the financial plan for the plan. Leslie?
Thank you, Larissa. So, we'll now discuss our plan to pay for the plan. Say that 5 times fast. Next slide, please. So federal regulations require that our financial plan include the following components: system level estimates of costs and resources reasonably expected to be available, estimates of the funds that will be available for the implementation of the plan, and additional financing strategy for the plan. So in essence, we need to have these components in place within the plan. If we don't have it in place, our plan is basically forfeit, and the federal government won't approve it. Next slide, please. So our cost and resources categories are the following. For the federally supported transportation system, we have 3 categories: operations and maintenance, system preservation, and system enhancements. So let's explain what each of these terms means. Operation and maintenance basically entails the day-to-day operations of the transportation system. Just maintaining, operating, and having it continue to function on a daily basis. System preservation are more targeted repair and infrastructure, works and projects designed to keep the transportation system in good shape. These are more targeted projects, they're more specialized, and they're not as routine, and not nearly as routine as operation and maintenance. And finally, system enhancement projects are projects that actually add capacity to the system, to the existing system. It can either add it or it actually can change the capacity of the system. So an example of a system enhancement project is the Second Avenue subway effort right now that's being done from extending the existing line from 96 to 125th Street. That's in addition to the existing projects, so that would be system enhancement. Whereas system preservation would be something like, the reconstruction of the Van Wyck Expressway, which didn't add any capacity, which just sort of reconstructed the area, the interchange. So those are examples of these three terms. Next slide, please. So for operations and maintenance, what we have here on the screen is costs. And these are costs divided by agencies. So basically owners of the facilities, of transportation facilities. As you can see here, the MTA forms the lion's share of the projected operations and maintenance cost. And I should underscore that this cost is a projected cost that we have for the length of the plan, which is from 2026 through 2055. That's a 30-year span. So during that time frame, going by ownership of the transportation-related facility, MTA is by far the largest segment of the cost, projected for the 30 years. We have other agencies here, suburban NYMTC County-owned facilities, which is the 5 suburban counties of NYMTC, Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester, Rockland, and Putnam County. New York City-owned facilities, which is, within the city. And we have New York State-owned facilities. I need to underscore that the New York State-owned facilities are only for the facilities that are New York State-owned within the NYMTC region. When we do not include projects outside of the region from New York State. So combined here, the 3 non-MTA, categories we have here, which is really more like 7, is not even close to, it's a minority. It only forms a little bit more than 10% of the projected costs of projected operation and maintenance costs from 2026 to 2055. And the MTA is roughly 90%. The total projected cost, as you see there on the screen, is $976 billion. And that's the cost for O&M, that's projected O&M costs from 2026 to 2055. Next slide, please. What you see here is, cost and resources. So the cost that you saw in the previous slide, we have it broken out differently here. We have it broken out by roadways and transit. And what this graph aims to show is how we have the resources to cover the cost. And as you can see on the screen, that on the roadway side, we have a roughly $300 million more resources than cost. So there's a $300 million surplus on the roadway front. Whereas on the transit front, we have a $17 billion surplus. That's a projection, again, for the life of the plan, which is from 2026 to 2055. I must emphasize that this is not entirely scientific. This is estimates of what the next 30 years holds for, costs and resources regarding operations and maintenance. Next slide, please. So what you see here is the system preservation and enhancement costs, and these are the projected system preservation and enhancement costs for that same 30-year time span, 2026 to 2055. Now, in most MPO regions, the bulk of the system preservation costs would be roadways. However, NYMTC is atypical. We're not like most American regions, regions in the United States of America. 77% of all projected system preservation costs will be transit related, while 23% are roadways related. It's a big switch from what you see in most parts of this country. Our projected system enhancement cost is running roughly $63 billion. And again, that's from 2026 to 2055. So system preservation costs total, as you see on the screen, is $685 billion. and projected system enhancement cost is $63 billion. So as you can see here, there's a lot of money involved. I pity the person who tries to stuff this money into a piggy bank. Next slide, please. Next up, we have the system preservation and enhancement resources. And this is the resources, projected resources we have to cover the system preservation and enhancement costs you saw in the previous slide. Total resources is estimated to be about $770 billion for the life of the plan. And the sources, and it's broken out in three sources, federal, state, and local. Most of the projected resources is expected to come from local sources. Roughly 3/5 of all projected resources is local. Roughly 1/3 of it is federal, and which leaves about the remaining 9% state. So we're projecting that most of the resources on system preservation front will be local sources, and state only forms a sliver of the projected sources. Next slide, please. So in addition to what was stated, as we stated earlier, we have additional financing strategies that we're proposing for the plan. And there's quite a few methods where, that's going to be implemented, that is going to be part of it. It's going to be put in play here. So we have public-private partnerships. And these are basically, contractual agreements between a public agency and a private sector entity to deliver a project or service. We have value capture, which is this type of public financing that recovers some or all of the value that public infrastructure generates. So an example of this is the 7-line extension to the Hudson Yards, which is completed in 2015. That project is an example of a value capture project, where the resulting development around the area, or the development it was done in conjunction with the line, that help pay for this construction. So the third strategy we have here is debt financing. And this entails an entity borrowing money from a lender and agreeing to pay that money over a period of time with interest. This is a relatively common technique that agencies use to finance projects. A fourth strategy here is discretionary federal funding. And that's basically block funding given to states to use at will. And this funding can be used for, among other things, transportation projects. So we can have agencies going to government block funding, which, by the way, is federally done. The federal government gives the block money into the states, and the states can disperse as needed. So that's why it's called discretionary federal funding. And finally, we have cordon pricing. And that's a system of charging drivers a fee to enter a designated area. You have already seen cordon pricing at work in the form of congestion pricing that is currently in place in New York City. So these are all proposed additional financing strategies that is in play in Plan 2055. Next slide, please. Next, I want to discuss the special elements of the plan. Next slide. So we have a number of key appendices within the plan that cover various topics. We have the active transportation plan, which focuses on the ped bike element of the plan. But it's not just about ped bike. It also includes other vehicles that use ped bike facilities, such as e-scooters, e-bikes. So that's all been accounted for, and there's a plan there in the appendices to sort of plan for this changed landscape of ped bike of the world. So that's why we call it active transportation as opposed to ped bike, because we have e-scooters and e-bikes. The game has changed since our last plan. And another appendix we have is a coordinated public transit human service transportation plan. And this is a plan designed to help meet the needs of those who are elderly or individuals with disabilities. So that's part of the overall plan. That's in the appendix. We also have the regional freight element. This is essentially the freight plan that we have in place for the NYMTC region, the 10-county NYMTC region. We have a Title VI assessment in the appendix, in our appendix, and that basically entails, basically assessing the effect of a project that a project has on minority and low-income populations throughout the region. An assessment is done, in that section of the plan. And finally, we have the environmental mitigation and new consultation appendix, and that delves into basically, ascertaining. It delves into mitigating or eliminating negative environmental externalities tied to projects, while simultaneously consulting with the affected communities for these projects. So, for example, we have, a noisy highway. Perhaps putting up a sound barrier around the highway, or barriers around the highway, will help mitigate the negative sounds, negative externalities of sound to the surrounding communities. So that's what that kind of thing will entail. That kind of activity will entail, excuse me. These are the key plan dependencies we have. They're integral to the plan, and it's just not minor facets of the plan. Next slide, please. Next, I want to discuss recommended projects, programs, and studies. Next slide, please. Next slide. All right, so here's an overview of it. You can find the full details of the projects, programs, and studies by clicking on that link there. I think, we'll have it in the chat pod for you, or you can seriously type on your computer to get that in there. But in that section, you'll see two flavors of projects there: fiscally constrained projects and vision projects. Fiscally constrained projects implies are projects that have costs attached to them. They have more defined scopes, they have costs, and they have resources to cover the costs. So these projects are more concrete. The other flavor of projects, programs, and studies, and thank you, Stephanie, is the vision projects, vision element projects. These projects are aspirational. They are more of a wish list. They're projects that our members wish to pursue in the future. They tend to have less defined scopes, and there's no cost or resources attached to it, typically. So those are our two flavors of projects that we have. Another aspect of this section is the coordinated development emphasis area. And what this entails is areas throughout the NYMTC region that our members are targeting for further development, for increased development. If you go to Appendix A, you will have maps for each of the 10 counties where the members are looking to increase development or enhance development in designated areas. And these are coordinated development emphasis areas, or CDEAs. Last, and certainly not least, we have the major metropolitan transportation investments. These are projects, these are big ticket items. These are projects that are at least partially federally funded. There are either system enhancement projects worth $100 million or more, or system preservation projects worth $500 million or more. These are major projects, and they are federally funded. If that's the case, we need to have them listed in the plan. And there's a section there in Appendix A where we have each one of these projects. A system enhancement project we have listed, for example, is the Second Avenue Subway. A system preservation project we have is the Port Authority Midtown Bus Terminal, which is essentially, sort of a replacement in kind of the existing terminal, which will not add capacity to service. So those are examples of these type of MMTIs, as they're also known as. Next slide, please. All right, that is all that I have. I'll hand the presentation back to Mark Maglianti. Mark, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you, Leslie. And have a glass of water and take a big breath, because that was a long and a lot of information. So I want to thank Leslie and Larissa for a great overview of the plan and its components. So Now is the time when we're opening up the floor to anyone who has a question or a comment. You can submit it in the chat. The chat icon at the bottom right hand of your screen will open up your chat if you haven't figured that out already. And the raise hand function, if you'd like to unmute and speak and ask a question, is also at the bottom of your screen, somewhat to the right. It's an image of a hand. So I'll ask colleague Stephanie to give me a hand if there's any questions already in the chat box or any raised hands.
So far, we don't have any questions in the chat, but feel free to post a question in the chat if you have one. We also have a QR code there on the screen. If you're on your phone or you have your phone nearby, you can always scan that QR code and you can go right to our the place where you can view all the documents and comment on both this Plan 2055 and the upcoming discussion on the congestion management report. You can comment on that as well. And I put a bunch of links in the chat about where to check out Moving Forward 2055, all the plans and documents. So we welcome your feedback. So far, we don't see any hands raised or comments. So I guess we could just move forward to the congestion management process.
Okay, great. Thank you, Stephanie. So, and there will be time, like she said, toward the end of, or even during this next presentation by John Simpson. So we're going to go on to the next session, and then we'll have time, a little more time for some comments at the end of that session. So John Simpson, we will talk about the 2025 draft CMP status report. John, are you there?
Yep. Thank you, Mark. So, of course, along with the plan and all the other things that are coming out from NYMTC this year, we are publishing our congestion management process status report, and I will be going into that over the next several minutes. Next slide, please. Okay. So we know what an MPO is. We discussed early at the top of the presentation what an MPO is and what the purpose of an MPO is. MPOs of a certain size, like large metropolitan areas, but also some ones that are not, we're not talking necessarily New York City size that hit that requirement, but New York City being the largest metropolitan area in the country, of course, meets the requirement and definition of a transportation management area. If you are a transportation management area, you must have a congestion management process that will forecast traffic congestion in your planning area, produce performance measures. The performance measures are not necessarily laid out by the federal government, just that you have to produce certain performance measures. And you will see as we go on, if you are familiar and have seen our previous CMP status reports, some things have changed. But we're expected to produce performance measures to identify levels of congestion in the region, both current and forecast. And we need to prepare a program to reduce that congestion. And that's what the congestion management process does. There's more information about the whole congestion management process itself in the CMP status report. But today we're just going to really be talking mostly about the status report. Next slide, please. So we publish a status report on the CMP with each regional transportation plan. Of course, regional transportation plan, we just had that presentation on, is coming out this year. And what this status report does is it provides that overview of the CMP and methodology, which I highly recommend if you're interested intrigued by mitigating congestion and how this all works, give it a read. It's not a particularly long report, certainly not compared to the plan or the tip or even conformity. Of the 4 reports coming out this year, it is pretty sure it's the shortest. So, but you get a lot of good information from it about CMP and methodology, and of course, results of our recent CMP analysis and forecast. We use multiple data sources that we'll get into a bit later. And at the end, we describe like the strategies and link it back to the regional transportation plan and how the plan and the CMP link up and how each module is, each of the goals and everything work interfaces with the CMP and how the CMP affects that. Next slide, please. So here we have our 7 performance measures. This is down from 10 that we had done previously, but we were able to consolidate things into fewer performance measures that are giving just as much telling the story just as well, if not better. We've split them up into colors, blue and orange. The blue performance metrics are calculated using the National Performance Management Research Dataset, which is sort of a open source data set that we get very granular data from sort of live GPS tracking and other modes of people who are participating in this. So we're able to get very granular data on current conditions and some previous conditions. Of course, the NPM-RDS does not forecast. So we access it. If you'll see the sources that say Avail. That's the Avail Labs of the University at Albany. And Avail Labs provides us with access to the NPM-RDS. They have a tool that can read the NPM-RDS data. Our 5 blue performance metrics, or NPM-RDS metrics, are level of travel time reliability, which is how reliable and dependable travel time is in the area. Truck travel time reliability, which is the same as LOTTR except tailored specifically for trucks. Your travel time index, which is your ratio of peak period travel time over free flow travel time. How far 1 means the same, it's never 1. And the higher it is, the bigger the deviation between peak period travel time and free flow travel time. Planning time index is basically, to distill it down, how much more time you need to plan into a trip for traffic, your buffer time included, so your total trip time including buffer time, not just necessarily what Google Maps is going to tell you, or any mapping app, but how far in advance of that you need to leave, how much time you're going to leave to get to, say, the airport. If you want to be at the airport like 2 hours from your flight and you live on a good day an hour from the airport, you're probably going to leave maybe at different times. You may leave an hour in advance. You may leave an hour and a half or 2 hours in advance, depending on which airport we're talking about and depending on the traffic at the time. And then you have peak hours of excessive delay, which is the amount of time you're spending in traffic during peak hours. Now, the orange performance measures are calculated using our in-house New York best practice model. This is our key forecasting tool, and it helps us forecast all the way out to our horizon years of 2055. It's certainly, when you have a forecasting tool like that, it's not going to be as granular as something that is more open source real time. So we don't try to get, previously we'd gone into a bit more granular detail, like granular with our performance measures that we did using the NYBPM, but at certain levels, it becomes a fool's errand to try to get accurate forecasts for things like LOTTR or planning time index, just because you can't accurately forecast those sorts of measures 30 years in advance. So what the model does do well is give us these measures, which are vehicle hours of delay and vehicle miles traveled. These are very commonly used metrics, especially vehicle VMT, but VHD is relatively more common as well. VMT, of course, is the total sum distances of all the vehicle sum distances traveled of all motor vehicles, and the vehicle hours of delay is the sum total of delay experienced by all motor vehicles. So those are our 7 performance metrics, and we'll move on to the next slide. So the bulk of the CMP is graphs, charts, and maps. So we have a number of charts on peer region comparisons, but this one looks at the ratio of the percent of the system that is congested and the percent of travel that is congested. So the percent of lane miles that are congested and the percent of peak VMT that is congested is what we go and use as our data point. The beige circle, the large beige circle, is the New York metro region. The more darker orange, amberish circle is the peer region average of all of the regions shown on this graph, which are Boston, Detroit, Philadelphia, Chicago, Phoenix, Dallas, Atlanta, Washington, Houston, San Diego, Miami, Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and of course, New York. And the purple circles are represent those regions of these major cities in the United States. For New York City, the New York metro region, approximately 30% of peak VMT is congested, and approximately sort of 20 to 25% of lane miles are congested. We get this from the Texas Transportation Institute, which is a part of Texas A&M University. They come up with an urban mobility scorecard on a biannual basis, so every other year. The last one, the 2023 scorecard, was released earlier this year, so it takes them a while to compile the data, and they release it a bit after the fact for the data. And we'll move on to the next slide. Now, this is an example of what the Avail data, the NPM-RDS data, outputs and gets us. These are congestion maps, and we have a number of them for every county all 10 counties, so the 5 boroughs of New York City and the 5 suburban counties. And we have them for pretty much every performance measure in the that we use from the NPMRDS. This is the way that we are able to visualize what's going on at the time the data was recorded, which in this case is 2023. Manhattan is a great example of just what we can see, because you do have those varying levels of congestion. You do have a lot on that map because of it. So in general, the orange lines, well, they're going to potentially be different for different performance measures in terms of what they actually mean. The orange lines represent sort of a more mild congestion, while the red lines are very heavy congestion. Of course, you'll see in the weekday PM peak period is more congested than the AM peak period. Note the data's from 2023. We don't have the 2025 data from Avail yet. It's certainly, we don't even have 2024 data from Avail yet. 2025 data, when that does come out, will be the first data that has congestion pricing effects. We don't have that yet. So what you're going to see in the CMP status report represents, in terms of the current conditions, represents pre-congestion pricing. Our next 1 in 4 years will represent post-congestion pricing. So stay tuned 4 years from now and see how that looks different from what you're looking at now. We're also, of course, at NYMTC tracking everything, all of these things. And if you want to see how the MTA's congestion pricing program has affected congestion in your area, whether you're in Manhattan or in one of the outer boroughs or a suburban county, the MTA has resources for you to check that. They've been taking meticulous data, and some of the data has been helping us with some of our other reports that we do. We also now take a look at the forecasted conditions. For this example, I'm going to use Long Island, specifically the Nassau-Suffolk TCC, Nassau and Suffolk County, that area. So the blue bar represents the base year of the BPM of 2019 for VMT, VHD, and the population, which are the 3 metrics that we're pulling from the NYBPM for the CMP. And the orange bar is our 2055 forecast, with the lighter orange being the growth from the 2019 numbers, which are, as you can see, the 2019 numbers shade over and shadow over the orange bar, with of course, the growth showing the difference. For Long Island, we're expecting 14% growth in VMT, 28% growth in VHD, and that with a 12% growth in population. So we have these for every TCC sub-area, so that's New York City, Mid-Hudson South, which is the lower Hudson Valley, and Nassau-Suffolk, which is Long Island. And we also do them county by county as well. Next slide, please. So at the end, we have strategies and system enhancement investments. We have a toolbox of strategies to use in the planning process for mitigating congestion. We take a look at the relevant goals vision goals from the regional transportation plan, the objective strategies, actions that are recommended, how the CMP relates back into that, especially the congestion goal, which is a new goal for this time around, this plan. So that those two feed back on each other while they are separate documents and not, the CMP is not part of the plan. They do interface with each other in many places. And then, of course, looking at the system enhancement initiatives that are programmed into the plan and into the 2026 to 2030 Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, for these congestion mitigation strategies. This is just a piece of our CMP status report that I've given you today. And significant, and if you want to see more, I recommend that you go to the NYMTC website where our CMP status report is available. In addition, with the CMP status report, we have the comment portal for the CMP. You can also access all of that through the plan portal. And that's all for me. I think we can move on to the next slide, and I'll hand it back over to Mark.
All right, great. Thank you very much, John, for that presentation. So now we're going to open up the floor again to comments, questions, and or raised hands. Stephanie, do we have any comments, questions, or raised
We
hands?
don't have any right now, but I'll put a link in the chat for you can comment on both Plan 2055 and the congestion status report. Feel free to.
I did see something come up.
Oh, yes, something just came through.
From
wonderful.
Nina.
Yes.
That says, what is being proposed for Route 9 in Greenberg?
Yes.
I don't have that off the top of my head. I would recommend that you go and, but whatever it is, should be, you can find that in the plan, or you can you can find that in the RTP. If it's a more soon project, it might be in our transportation improvement program. And
yeah, John,
and,
I'll just say that for that question too, Nina, if you have more details, more specific details that you'd like to know, you can include that either in the chat right now or in using the link and go into the comment form on the website to ask specifically, because there are specific locations that you might be able to find on the website using the map or the description of the projects. So but we will log that question, and we will try to answer it as best we can by providing that information to the members and document the answer into the final plan. But if you have further details on exactly, I'm assuming you're referring to possibly congestion, or is it something else? So lots of things could be proposed on that stretch of roadway. If you wanted to further clarify exactly what you're looking for, we can provide that answer in the final documentation.
Mark?
Yes.
If you have further, yep, the roundabouts, that's the information.
Okay. So that is going to be a question that we will get an answer for from the members, and we'll get more details, and we'll include an answer in the final documentation specific to roundabouts on Route 9.
Thank you, Mark.
Sure. And thank you for the comment and the question, Brother Anita.
I don't see any more comments. Did anyone want to add anything else in the chat, or we can use the raise hand function? And again, we have the QR code on the screen if you wanted to use your phone to comment or just take a look at the plans that have been discussed today. We don't see anything else.
And
in
we'll,
the chat.
yeah, and we have a few more minutes. We have another minute or so here because I'm going to turn it back now to Larissa to go over just next steps with our timeline for what happens next with this plan. Larissa, you there?
Yes, hi, thank you, Mark. Can you open, yes, schedule one more? So as Mark described in the beginning, we are in the middle of the public comment period for now until July 30th. So public comments are going to be accepted until 4 p.m. on July 30th. So if you have any comments, please, you can go to the website and there is a form you can fill out and provide details and questions what you have. So on August 21st, we are going to have Program Finance Administration Committee meeting where recommendations going to be made for the draft plan and draft CMP status report to be adopted. And that recommendation has been made to the NYMTC Council. NYMTC Council will meet on September 5th, where the documents are going to be adopted, the plan moving forward 2055, our plan RTP, the SCMP status report and other products. So that's going to be happening. Council is supposed to be adopting all these documents and they will become final, and all of this documentation will be available on the NYMTC websites once it's all adopted and finalized. So this is where we are. Mark, back to you.
Great. And thank you again, Larissa. Any other final comments? I don't see any more comments or raised hands. So with that, I'm going to say thank you to all the presenters, and really thank you for the folks who joined this evening. I know it's a time out of your personal schedule and everything. So really appreciate the participation and interest in this important documentation that's coming out. So comment period remains open for another couple of weeks, and look forward to hearing from you, and have a great night, everybody. Be safe.
Thank you all so much. Have a great night.
Thank you.